The Treaty of Waitangi is the founding document of Aotearoa New Zealand, but its place in society and the extent that it's been recognised and upheld has varied and evolved over time. Hemi and I will be discussing how this evolution has taken place. So Hemi, we got the learners to look at some of these events, and can we start with Potato Te Whetowhetho becoming the first Maori king? How did that either strengthen or undermine the treaty?
Kia ora, Shawn. Well, the first thing is that it was an attempt by tangata whenua to try and participate in the new systems that were introduced through the treaty relationship. So it was looking at setting up a parallel system of sovereignty and determine who the sovereign power is and how they were going to interact.
And that was an important question that was posed by the treaty, wasn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely. That's perhaps one of the greatest points of tension is around the translation between the two texts. Mm-hmm. Our government has given equal weight to both texts because they have strength of signature. But these tensions still exist today in terms of what does that mean for Aotearoa New Zealand, and how is that to be read in a modern context?
So in 1907, the Tohunga Suppression Act was signed, and this impacted Maori spiritual healers directly, but there was a wider implication to it, wasn't there, Hemi?
Absolutely. It wasn't just about the spiritual healers, it was about the leadership, Māori leadership, marginalised from advising, supporting and guiding their communities. In a lot of ways it impacted on the practices, health practices of tangata whenua. We see that as undermining and continuing to erode the rights and responsibilities that were agreed in the Treaty of Waitangi.
And seen in a continuum, some of these events start to paint a picture, don't they, Hemi?
Absolutely. Continuing to undermine tangata whenua ability to live as tangata whenua, undermining, eroding the rights that were embedded in the treaty, certainly was a peak moment in terms of negatively affecting the treaty relationship.
And changing that relationship from one of partnership to one of the governed and the governors.
Yes.
In 2010, the government finally endorsed the United Nations Declaration of the Rights of Indigenous People, and this was a long time coming. What was the impact of this endorsement on, the treaty, and whether or not it strengthened or undermined it?
Our Indigenous Rights Commissioner, Karen Johansson, suggests that the Declaration of the Rights of Indigenous People is a modern interpretation of the rights and responsibilities and the relationship that was built within the treaty. It gives a lot more detail about how that's to be observed and how that's to be applied.
So it's quite a complementary.
It certainly is. It certainly is. It certainly supports the aspirations within the Treaty of Waitangi, and more tangata whenua are using the Declaration of Rights of Indigenous People to underpin some of their work that they're doing, and particularly around submissions to government and the UN.
So something that has been clear from this exercise, and that we hope that you guys have picked up, is that the treaty is a living document that has evolved over time, and our relationship to the treaty has evolved with it. How would you categorise the treaty and its place in New Zealand society today, Hemi?
I think the treaty is the founding document of our state. It's been described as the promise of two peoples to take the best possible care of each other.